And good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. I am Chad Holmes, and tonight we are making the transition from fall to winter, and again, thanks to Jason Foster. He did a fantastic job during the fall and was able to really provide the information and the expertise that we look for from across the table in a big bar to get over for our new winter co-host, also from Wausau West. And he did the similar Jason Foster roadmap here from a head coach to athletic director. But then Jason, he kept going. He went higher and higher. Now he's one of the assistant principals at Wausau West and taking over as the athletic director this year and retiring from his position as head hockey coach. And it's nice when you go to state to wrap it up. But BJ Brandt, and he'll be with us here during the winter. And good to have you, and looking forward to a very exciting winter sports season.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Chad. I love chatting with you and chatting high school sports. And I got a lot to learn. I know that, especially this first hour here. The hockey segments, I feel pretty good about it, and certainly been educating myself on high school basketball. And I'll get to watch a lot more of that as this winter rolls on.
But to make the transition a little bit easier, we're going to basically hand the baton here tonight because for, what was it, 8 years, I think it was, that you were coming here on Wednesday nights. My co-host at every week, I would call him the former head boys basketball coach at Newman Catholic. And then he decided, well, it's time to get back into the grind to become what the comparison I think of is, after a big gap, is Dick Vermeil. He was gone for a long time, and he came back, and he ultimately won a Super Bowl. Can he do it? We'll find out. It's Jeff Gress, and the current Newman Catholic High School boys basketball coach. And great to have you on board here for the first hour.
Well, I appreciate you having me back, Chad. I had, number of things happen. You see where you stand when the new guy gets the best chair in the house, and then I'm here for those listeners that are worried about this becoming a hockey show. We're going to try to balance that out. But no, I'm totally kidding, and this will be fun, and I appreciate you letting me sit along for the ride here for an hour.
I got to start, though, when I was looking at the basketball yearbook under Newman Catholic, and it lists Newman Catholic, and we'll talk about where it lists Newman Catholic later. But it just says, Newman Catholic, after a 9-year absence, Jeff Gress returns to the sidelines as head coach at Newman Catholic. You haven't been missing. You've just been here. And he could have mentioned that.
Yeah, very true. It's well, I gotta just quick. It was a big thank you when I stopped coaching the first time, as Coach Brandt can attest to. You get a little bit of a void. There's plenty in life to fill that and make those experiences, and we all have our reasons why we do it, versus stepping down and moving into different stuff within our life at that moment. But you're so used to that connection with the kids, that hustle and bustle, that movement from film to practice to the game to the next thing you have to take care of and manage as a head coach. I really appreciated getting to do this journey because it still felt like I had those shoes, even though I wasn't the head coach on the sidelines or running that program. It kept me in touch with high school basketball, and I'll say it as we always do. The best part about the show is talking to coaches and players. It's there's all the records and the stat lines and all the other stuff you talk about, but it's that picture that gets painted when they talk about their programs and the pride that they have in them and the experiences that truly make it that special moment of what high school sports is, and that moment that those kids get to live in and those coaches get to live in.
Another high bar that you have is this guy had so many notes when he come in. I mean, he would dig. It would not be the notes for the hockey stuff, though. We were trying to get him there, but it was all the basketball stuff. Let me ask you real quickly, BJ, before we actually start to talk a little bit about where we are at the start of this winter sports season. Jeff mentioned the fact that it can be a bit of a jarring experience when you give up probably one of your dream jobs. I mean, I'm sure that that was one of the jobs that you thought about when you got involved in teaching and coaching, that you wanted to be the head hockey coach at Wausau West. It's a great position, but you got this great opportunity. Has it been jarring to start things off, that practice is going on and you're not going to the rink? You're maybe still in the office or have to work at the field house instead of going to the rink. Is it at all jarring?
It's a completely different routine. I mean, that's been, when they started on November 10th, I was down at the athletic directors conference down in the Dells, and I was sitting across from Brian Miller. former AD up at Ashland now, and I said, I missed practice yesterday, and he's like, what do you mean? I go, first practice was yesterday. And he's like, he totally understand where I was coming from, but for me, it's great to know the staff that West has, and I, it was me moving out and Travis stepping in to take over everything we did. So it's been totally different, but I'll say I've been able to be present as a dad a little bit more within the family structure, and with Emma and Allie playing their first varsity game as a sister duo, being able to be there and watch that last night, and then being there for Kate and Davis and their youth stuff. So it's been really good so far. I mean, it's totally different schedule. It's the part you talk about, like the connection with kids, that's one of the things that's been the biggest challenge so far as an athletic and activities director is you get to watch kids perform, but it's you don't always get to know the kids the way that you knew them as a teacher and as a coach. So that'll be the biggest challenge, but hopefully something I can figure out over the time period of this job, and cheering on the kids and all the great things that come from high school sports and performances.
The first segment here, we're going to talk generally. We'll have your official coach of Newman Catholic interview as we come to know it a little bit later in the hour. I wanted you here as well because let's talk generally about boys basketball, because we're starting boys basketball a little bit last night. There were a few games, not many, but a few games, and then of course a lot of action going on this weekend. And the conferences we're going to keep a real tight on look at are the Wisconsin Valley, the Merowith South, and the Great Northern. Well, you're of course coaching in the Merowith South. You're facing a couple of teams from the Great Northern. You'll get a chance to see a Valley team as well. But let's generally talk, and I know that I saw Coach Brandt here at the West scrimmage on Monday as well. Let's talk a little bit about the Merowith South since you're here first. It's a little different. I mean, you're back, Stratford. I mean, how many years? Every year we had Coach Schmidt on, because it'd be like old home week when you talk to him. I mean, you had such great respect for what he was able to do at Stratford for so many years. You got Marathon, who looks like, I mean, they actually, I thought, in a sense, overachieved a year ago because they were a bit younger. They had lost Grant Warren, and there was a different look, but they still had an outstanding season. I looked again at the standings in the yearbook, and I'm thinking, it could be a lot different than what they have. But it could be the same. But I also think it could be a lot different. I'm going to ask you quickly, Jeff, what is your take on this conference? And I know, and I'm going to put it out there for everybody, you have to speak a little differently as a current head coach than you did as an analyst, but you're jumping right back into it. What's your sense going into it?
Well, as every coach attests to their conference and the players that are in it, it's a war. It's the best conference that there's out there, because you're going to take a stand because you're already in it.
And you said that last 8 years.
There's no change. I mean, we were talking. We had practice this morning, and I wasn't happy with the defensive drill. And you know why? Because if we don't get in position, these coaches are smart enough to burn you if you're out of position. The players are physical enough to move you around the way they want to, and it's just a tale of putting on the old hat. All these teams are still good. On any given night, anybody can beat anybody. It's going to be a physical conference. It's athletic. Everybody has a pretty good blend on their team of guard play to inside strengths to age versus inexperience. It's all there, and I think that it's just come to be such these rivalry teams over the years that it's going to be a game every night. You can't show up and take a night off. And the funny thing is, as you mentioned, Coach Schmidt retires, they still have good athletes. There's still that, like Coach Brandt was talking about, that sense of pride and tradition that's already there from programs and players and the way things have already been established, that it's just going to continue. And if the coach that steps in does it right, they should just keep flowing with that winning atmosphere. There's guys, Marathon and Auburndale, those guys never left the sidelines. So I look at it, we're already coming in hands down because I'm out of practice, and we got to catch up on that. So, and Edgar, I know Coach Paul, and they've been doing that a long time. So it's, and then to boot, I know we're in the southern half, the northern half's gotten better too. And so it's just very interesting on how things are going to shake out. I think it's going to, be on the consistency of your play, how much you can develop and improve on the things that need to improve on that you cite as things that aren't working well in the game to fix quickly. And I've already seen it a couple of times even here early on. Health wise, how we doing with sicknesses? We had a senior retreat and everybody comes back sick. And
I gotta say that I went to a practice last
Yeah.
week and I got scared to death because I'm standing off in the corner and all I could hear is coughing. And I'm thinking, I don't want to go through this over again. I'm getting out of here.
and you got the injury bugs you can't control. We had high hopes of what we were going to, or not high hopes, but you have a set plan in your mind of what you're going to lay out at that scrimmage right away. And I got kids, whether they're sick or an infection came up over the week. It could be anything, and they're out, and we got to give them a little rest time. So I think those are all big factors. But I don't take for granted any game we're going to play against anybody in that conference. And obviously, we're playing with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. But it's a very strong conference. It's got a lot of good teams with a lot of good coaches with a lot of experience. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else either. I wouldn't want to come in and say, we can go half speed tonight and hopefully we'll win by 20. Whereas, no, we're going to have to play our best basketball. We're going to have to be consistent. It's well earned. It's like it's what you want in a daily routine to earn. I think you got to earn it. It makes you better in life. So.
BJ, I don't think I've said this out loud, but it's something I've kind of carried with myself for a long time. Is Marathon boys basketball reminds me of Wausau West hockey because over the years, they've had such great coaches there. They've had such a winning tradition. They've passed along, I think, a basic way of doing things that has kept them at the top of a very good conference year after year. And I don't think you can underestimate that, can you?
No, you can. I mean, when you look at like all the things you're talking about, Jeff, it's fun to hear the excitement in your voice because I know where
was
you're
that
at,
the last 8 years?
No, it was here.
I'm joking. I'm
mellowed out.
But when you look at that and you look at a tough conference, really what it's doing is preparing you for the best part of the season, which you get to February and you get to the playoffs, and through all that process, you're trying to prepare yourself for the WIA tournament series. And you look at a conference like that and the programs that are in it, like it's going to prepare you for the playoffs, which is what you want. I mean, the reality is, yeah, you're fighting for a conference championship. You want to make sure that you put yourself in a position for that. But the reality is you want to be playing your best basketball, your best hockey, your best whatever it may be when the WIA tournament series comes. And I think the conference, as you speak of it, is going to prepare you guys for that, which is going to be fun for me to follow as I watch more basketball and follow more basketball throughout the winter here to make sure I have some basketball notes on my sheet.
I want to touch on the Great Northern because you do face two Great Northern teams this weekend, so I think you've probably been looking a little bit at what Merrill and Northern Pines have. But here in our neck of the woods, you got Mosinee, and I was looking at some of the kids that got back. I mean, we talked so much about Treve Stoffel during the fall. I mean, he was doing everything on the football field. He's going to go and continue doing that on the baseball diamond. But you got a couple of other 6'4" kids in Sebastian Anderson and Braden Reinke as well, and they have 5 starters back. I mean, that Mosinee team right now looks like one that's not only going to be, I think, a big challenge and a very good GNC, but also potentially being there as we do get into late February and early March.
Well, just and one of the things I was looking at before I came here to do the show was just the win totals on a lot of those coaches in the conference. I mean, even when you're, where Medford is, they've got a bunch of wins. Coach Lemons at Rhinelander had over 200 wins, and it's just there's a lot to be said about that when you got these top teams in the conference just accumulating all these wins. It's through the players in the program and how they coach and run it. For going to Mosinee, though, what wouldn't you want in a lineup back the next year when you had success enough? They finished 9-3, I think, and had a good overall record last year. And now these kids are a year older, and I think it's cool to see, no matter what sports they pick, the multi-sport athlete, and to give a kid credit when they're able, or kids I should say in general, are able to do that. In multiple sports, have high success rates, go from one sport to the other, change the mechanics and the ability levels a little bit to be able to work the way you have to within that type of sport and still have the success. That's a winner, that's an athlete. And I think with the size, the athleticism, the way Coach Lindsay runs that program, Mosinee is ready to, going to be a team that's ready to go. And again, you're going to war it out in that conference and be ready for playoffs. It's never easy, but I would, at the start of this, a team you're really going to look forward to watch. They're going to be successful, and again, not a couple easy games off the top when you got some of those other teams in there, but built on looking at the roster and the experience that they have, provided they're all healthy. That's what you want coming back to start the season off. I mean, you may say you have a target on your back, but you can defend it, so it's a good roster to have.
And also, I mean, Nate here at Wausau West, but what Derek Lemons has done, and we talked about this last year. I mean, they would have a stub toe out of conference, but every time they needed to win a game in the conference, they won. They beat Mosinee twice last year. That's why they won the conference championship. I mean, what Coach Lemons has done at Rhinelander has been very, very impressive, especially as you haven't seen Rhinelander in other sports doing all that well. That basketball program stays right there, always competing at the top of that league.
Well, and it's just very consistent, and I think part of that is the Lemons tree of coaching a little bit there. We're when you talk to Nate a little bit and get to watch the Lemons brothers coach against each other on Monday, and obviously it's controlled and you're trying different things, but to watch them, it's such a cool experience for those guys to have the opportunity to coach against each other and just how they coach. They're coaching the details, they're coaching the things that they think are going to make their team successful, and Rhinelander did an outstanding job at the scrimmage, and West was able to compete, and I think that's when you look at the teams that are going to be successful, they all are fierce competitors. Like, you can see it. And it's fun to watch athletes like that compete. You talk about the transition from fall to winter to spring, and the kids that are multi-sport athletes, they're fierce competitors. It doesn't matter if they're playing pickleball with their sibling or their parent or a friend, they're going to be fierce competitors and want to win that too. So I as I've transitioned to kind of a broader lens in high school sports, it's fun to watch kids compete, and it truly teaches them things that you can't learn in the classroom, and it's such a great learning environment for these kids.
Well, and I was going to say, just talk the last couple of times too. It's cool to watch coaches because, again, at the high school level, it's not college. You're not pulling in guys you want that work for your systems of what you need. It's what you're dealt with and what you can develop with the kids that choose to come out and participate in that sport. And I know he's had good basketball players up there, but we weren't naming so to take that with just a solid team from last year and win that conference, I think that's the big deal when a lot of these other teams have these major players in the game where you got your one or two studs out there. And now to culminate that, it looks like he's got some of those kids are back that were solid last year from because I have our guys at Newman talk about some of the guys they've either played with at AAU or this kid's on my AAU team from Rhinelander and he's good. So things like that to mold that athletic ability to have a little bit more of a couple studs to help with the statistics is always going to be a good thing.
You said, here I have this broadened lens. I want to ask you about Merrill because they move now completely to the Great Northern Conference. They were a member of the Valley in basketball and baseball, softball last year. They've been in football. As you look at, you've been around Merrill, obviously, as a conference opponent for a very long time. How do you think that's going to work for them being now completely in the GNC?
I mean, I think it's going to help them. You saw it in football a little bit. They made the playoffs, and I don't know a ton of the history on Merrill, but just in the sports that I've watched, I think it's going to help them be more competitive, which is going to allow their kids to have success. And I think from the Valley's perspective, you're always trying to figure out how to have a great conference and how to have and make teams be super competitive within your conference. So to watch a team like Merrill, leave the Valley over a period of time and then define success, I think it's going to be really good for them. It's going to be a good move for them. I mean, obviously, watching them this full year as they compete in the Great Northern will be a great test to see if it was the right thing for them. And that's the hard part. I mean, you want your kids to be successful. You want them to be competitive, and sometimes the environment, whether it's an enrollment situation or participation situation, you've got to make sure as an athletic director and administration that you're putting your kids in a good spot for success. And certainly in the fall, I would say it's worked out well for Merrill.
And Jeff, before we turn to the page from the GNC, you have been getting ready for Merrill and Pines, and they are two teams that are expected to be right there in the mix in the GNC. Not to break it down completely, but what's your sense? Are these going to be very competitive teams this coming year?
Yeah, I the coaches I've scouted a little bit already to watch games to get ready ahead of the games that we're going to play over at West, and for Merrill, what I always like to watch sometimes is, do you take on the persona of your coach? And Coach Pieper over there's got that bulldog mentality. He's gonna grind you out and get after it, and the kids are gonna follow suit on his emotions and how hard he wants them to play and stuff like that. And I watched that early on, watched some of the games from last year, and that's exactly what they are. They got that lankiness to them and can really get up and down the floor well, and just a lot of good solid frames to bang around on the basketball court with you. So I think they're going to be that league's going to be good for them, very competitive, and more their sizes. And they've already they play those guys out of conference, so it's not like they're finding a bunch of new friends here. Just more rivalries to pop up as they progress more within that conference play. And for Pines, I've seen a little bit of last year, and I watched last night's game when they played Three Lakes and play with quite a bit of speed and get up and down the floor. That ball was out of the basket, or they got a rebound or a turnover, and they're gone and they're flying. So, and again, a lot of athleticism, good basketball frames with these slasher type players, 6'1", 6'2", and a multitude of them on the court. So I think it's going to be a battle between those two teams. Merrill stepping in there, Pines getting a little better from last year. They got the Albright kid that can put a lot of points in the basket, really good shooter, lefty. And I think they're going to both adjust well in that conference and just make it that much more competitive by one team joining and another team being a year older. So it'll be fun to watch as that plays out throughout the season.
The Valley, 6 teams. That's something as somebody who grew up in this area, and I remember, and when I started broadcasting for Wausau West, there was 9 teams, and back when we first started, there would be 16 conference games and 4 non-conference games. There was a 20-game schedule back then. Nowadays, it's probably 60-40, maybe even bigger than that now, because you play more games and there's fewer conference games. But looking at the Valley, in a stat that just jumps off the page, and BJ is somebody who competes in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, and you've been around it in different sports for a long time. To see what Marshfield has done to win 47-48 in boys basketball with programs like Stevens Point and DC Everest and Wausau West won 18 games last year. I mean, what Marshfield has been able to accomplish has been pretty impressive on the hardwood in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun to watch them when they come to town. I mean, they're certainly competitive and execute against really good opponents. I mean, obviously made a great run and have had some really good athletes that have performed well in the right moments. I mean, it's you mentioned the conference of 6, and the topic of conference realignment and all that is something that pops up almost every year, and it's something that as a Valley we talk about a lot because it is only 6. So from the coach's perspective, like, I loved that we had 10 conference games and we get to go get 14 non-conference games. As an athletic director, though, when you're doing scheduling, I don't know that it's the same like and love for that. So it'll be fun to watch the Valley this year. I think
I will say,
see,
let me jump in real fast. There are some interesting trips for Wausau West this year on the boys' side.
Well, and some of that had to deal with the Florida trip. When you're scheduling, they had the Florida trip. I think it was a year ago,
last year.
And that created some holes in the schedule that Coach Lemons wanted to fill, and at some points you got to take the games you can get, so that you can compete and prepare. And I remember playing in the Valley when it was all those teams, Chad. I mean, from Anago to Rhinelander to Merrill, just 3 that come to mind right away.
And there were some wars.
Absolutely.
Back Rhinelander was always good. I mean, Jack Bennett's. Again, going back to some of those games. Just. It makes me sad.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. You look at like the Valley schools and you talk about the Great Northern. We're scheduling each other non-conference all the time. So you still get some of the rivalries. You still get some of the matchups. It's just not twice a year, once at their place, once at your place. So the Valley would be fun to watch. I mean, obviously I'll get a front row seat to a lot of games there at Wausau West.
What about, you're here in town, East and West especially. I mean, you probably see them during the summertime and generally with the Valley. Anything you'd want to add?
Well, I think that, again, if you wanted to say, like, any given night, these teams know each other well. I know they always, in talking to the area coaches, when I get fortunate enough to have those conversations, they're always looking for the battle, and they know that they've got it's the Marshfield and the Spash that always get a little bit of the more, I don't know if you want to say limelight, but they get a little bit more of the push because wherever that comes from. But I wouldn't want to play East or West on any given night either. They're going to come at you. Coach Lemons and the Warriors are going to be stingy. Coach Garrett and those guys are going to try to put the ball in the basket and fill a ton of points on you. And just the recent success both those programs have with 18 wins last year for West and East going to state. I mean, that's only going to propel and build itself. Those are all good things that kids want to try to leave their mark on and keep their tradition in the new year. So as much as people say Spash Marshfield, I still think it's going to be a good area basketball and another battle. And you also have Everest is a year older. Last year we were talking
Jake
about
Shallow coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, he had so much success at Merrill for his first time around, and again that I think will lift the floor again as well. I mean, Everest has had talent. I mean, they've been very good last number. I mean, I'm gonna say right here. I mean, we were both fans of Oliver Drake and what he was able to do. I mean, we really enjoyed talking to him. A very good basketball mind, and Jake Shallow I think is cut along the same cloth in terms of a quality coach.
Yeah, I think he's going to step in and do fine with that group of kids. And you've got like I said, you got a good roster back where kids that can hit from the outside, they can bang it inside. And they always have pretty good size and athleticism out at DC Everest, but top to bottom again, it's going to be a tough. I mean, we look last year. We were talking about Rapids a couple of times, only a couple wins, and all the coaches would come in and say, "Well, I want to stub my toe there." I mean, they could come at us.
And then they
tonight.
beat East, didn't they?
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
but but that's how good they are from top to bottom.
And also, I guess the final note I'll make is, you don't see very many conferences who get two teams to the state tournament. And that's what happened last year with the Wisconsin Valley Conference. 2 of their 7 were playing in state, and one of which was playing in the final game of the season in D1.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Marshfield wins the conference last year. East finishes 5th, and they're both representing the conference at the state tournament. And that's a testament to how well they were playing down at the end. And it'll be fun to watch, because as you look at last year's Marshfield was the crown jewel of the conference, undefeated in the conference, and then you had Spash, West, and Everest kind of there in the middle. East just under 500, and then you had Maryland Rapids. Well, Merrill's out now, so now they've got I think Rapids. I think you'll see them better this year, and being a year older And I think it'll be interesting to watch our kid, like certainly our Warrior kids compete, watching them compete against Rhinelander and talking to Coach Lemons and how excited he is about his group. So it'll be fun to watch.
And I think when you look at the school, as much as Marshfield's predicted to be the top contender for the conference title, according to the book, they. How are they going to replace that guard play? You still have some of the key cogs, but that's always an excellent. You lost some excellent guards there, and
Brooks Hinson was that special kind of guy that knew how to win basketball games.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes this.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's beyond the stats when you lose somebody.
Right. That's your floor general. I'm sure that was one of the key cogs. If you're coaching against, you're trying to take that kid out because everything runs through him. He's the head of the snake, and that's what you want to get rid of. And then, Coach Brandt alluded to before, when we were talking about the Merrillwood South earlier, it's kind of nice too, I think, sometimes from maybe Wausau East standpoint. You war with a bunch of D1 teams, and you're D2, and then it's nice to be sometimes, as much as it might be harder in that conference schedule during the time. I think you really get prepared for being more battle tested for the playoffs when you've got a different divisional status within your own conference. I think it makes a big deal down the road for when you get to be playing late, because it toughens you up, and then you go into your own size schools and you can really make a difference for your schedule.
Well, I mean, when you look at East last year, they're 5-7 in the Valley, 16-7 overall. They didn't lose a game out of conference. The only losses they had were in the Valley, and that tested them and pushed them to be prepared for the run.
Yeah. We're going to take a 1-minute timeout, and then we're going to have our coach guest for this week, and that is Jeff Gress, Newman Catholic High School boys basketball coach. We'll try to touch on some of the girls' action that's already been played a little bit later on. We will talk about hockey in the second hour as we have Mara Meverden from the Central Wisconsin Storm, but also an outstanding softball player at DC Everest. She'll be our student-athlete guest coming up at 7:06. So back in 1 minute with our coach guest coming up here on the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Wisconsin. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association. Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Wisconsin, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. Civic Media app and on YouTube, youtube.com, and the 98.9 WXCO channel. Along with BJ Brandt, I'm Chad Holmes, and joining us here in the first hour is Jeff Gress, the Newman Catholic High School boys basketball coach. Let's talk about the job. You are back after, again, nearly a decade away. What I guess the first question is, BJ said it sounds like you're very excited about it. Has it been everything you've wanted it to be since you took over again at Newman?
Yeah, I mean, back when, they asked me if I was interested once the job opened up in end of April, early May, I had to have the conversations you had to have with the right people in your life, so you better talk to your spouse. Obviously, my kid's a freshman, so we had to have that conversation, and my daughter's a seventh grader, so just kind of ran the routes on that to make sure that it would work out. And then, you always want to, you look at it too. You've been away from the game for a little bit. Is spectating better for you? Is you going to be able to accomplish what you want to help these kids do? So there's a lot of things to think about. But the minute I said yes, I don't know how to not go into something full throttle. Just because, for me personally, and that's sometimes where the writing and I'm not saying because you mentioned but you're back after. It's not about coming back. It's about what I think I can help with our student athletes. What I can do for the basketball program. It's all about them. I tell them so many times, it's your team. I'll take the blame for everything, but it's your team. I want you guys to be happy. I want you guys to feel the success you want to get out of this. So excitement wise, it's been everything. We got started with it this summer, and then the regular season rolled around, and just from little, I guess, things we're geeking out on, typing the kids' rosters in, making sure the heights are right, ordering all the new clothing. And I think the guys after a while got sick of it. Every time I'm like, come see this, look at the way they printed this Newman Catholic on here. It looks great. And they're excited about it because we're all excited. So I think it's exactly what I felt it would be. Obviously, you often sometimes deep down wonder, am I built to do this anymore? I was a lot younger the last time I did this. It was a little bit different. The first time around, my players are teaching me how to text. The second time around, I'm finding that they like to communicate much more without face-to-face stuff. It's just the way they're built, and trying to get them back in that mode a little bit. Come have a conversation. Let's talk about it. So the excitement's been there. I can't wait for every of these new firsts with these guys, from first games to first film sessions to the first day of practice. It's been outstanding, as has the players and the families and the parents.
Well, just talk about that a little bit. So you've been gone 10 years. Has the game changed? Are there things within coaching here now in your first couple of weeks that you reflected back 10 years ago that you said you were much younger, but you're also much wiser this time around, and you've been able to watch a lot.
We hope.
I'll say you are. And then you have the aspect of having your son there. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, going back, how the game's changed a little bit. I think obviously, the first time much younger, quicker to decide things, maybe a little louder, not don't sit back and observe and watch things as much. Just this time around, coming in my head, I was talking to you guys off air about the Tomahawk schedule or the Tomahawk scrimmage and things we had to work on, things we didn't do right away in real time. And then I watched the film back. I'm like, actually, we were okay in that. And the thing I like about it with the players is I had that conversation. Hey, I'll be the first one to say when I'm a little off. And I said, I got on you guys about this defensive possession. We took a timeout. I said, well, I watched it back in real time or film time, and here's how it broke down a little bit. So here's some things I was really happy with. And I think that realism that the last time, the coach is always right. I'm going to say it. I might not admit it as much. And this time I want to have that authenticity where we're laying things out exactly how we see them, exactly how I feel. And I think that's one thing. The time built in with getting just on the huddle camera. The last time I was around, I'd go to Coleman on a Tuesday night way up north in a snowstorm to get a game film because I felt it would help us beat the other team we were going to play. And now I just got to click a button and somebody's kicking me a tape off or that type of thing. So I don't think as much as maybe the players and things have changed. I think it's more so with my perspective. It used to be so much so you take a loss so hard and blame yourself, and then you'd feel the responsibility that you'd have to get these guys so far to get the win. And now I think it's more so about my connections with the kids. That's however we are working together in these moments is going to be such a big deal. Not only now, but going forward. What they view of their hard work and stuff, I think is a big deal. Before it was kind of like, here's the coach, here's the direction, here's what we see, here's the one-way street. Now it's more like, how are we in the moment? What's your guys' buy-in? How do you see things a little bit? Trying to give them that extra element of maturity and kind of that big level of a voice within their team. Because if I truly believe it's their team, they have to be able to share and have some feelings in that. And then I'm so much more so I've learned over the years when I've had players get back and connect, what we're doing now in the moment and why that pressure I think I still feel is so much for 20 years down the road, how these guys are going to be as contributing members of society, how they're going to be in whatever higher education or work field they decide to go right into, how are they going to be as a spouse or a dad. Those types of things I think are so big. I want to see and relish that 20 years down the road what they maybe just a little bit of the Newman program helped make, just a fraction helped make them part of who they are. And I think high school sports does that. So I think just maybe a little bit different perspective, a wiser perspective, and understanding that, there is life after basketball. And it's in those moments of who we start to define ourselves as who we can be, that propel us to be what we are going to be in that 20 years. I think that's a big deal. And I'll hit my son because I got to hit that. That's always a tough one because as anybody that's ever coached their own kid, they're the coach's kid. They're held to a different standard. And as much as there's great perks with that, I think there can also be an intense pressure with that. So one of the things because I've coached that was one of the big conversations I've had because my son's group, I've coached since they were fourth graders. And one of the things I questioned myself in taking this job was at the end of the day, if I'm able to do it all the way through with my son, which is what I want to commit to there and beyond to see what the pieces are. But they will not have another high school basketball coach, another Jeff Gress. And that could be a very good thing. And you never know. It could be a hard thing because I'm not easy on that group. And we've become like family. I treat them like my own kids. So I'm honest on what we do. That can be constructive criticism as much as praise and having their backs. And so, my son and I had a long conversation about that because one of the things that he had to want out of this for me to agree with it was he had to be accepting that I will potentially be the only coach he's ever had. And I wanted him to be able to live with that at the end of the day. And that was a big deal. And I was dead honest with my wife and said, if he doesn't want that, I'm out. I'm not doing this. It's his high school career. That's just as important as every other kid's high school career. And he wanted that. And I think sometimes he sees the perks, like when, you got extra time to shoot around, you're there with, that gym space is more readily available with your dad being the coach. So I was, as much as I was happy as a father, I was happy as a coach that kind of lifted that experience that was also available to me based on his opinion. Because that meant a lot to me that he would want that, and we got a long road to go, and never easy to be the coach's kid.
You played for Dan Witter, and then you coached under Scott Seward, and then you became the head coach at a very young age. How old were you when you first became the head coach?
25, Chad. A lot less gray hair.
Yeah.
Still a good-looking beard,
of
but
course. But
and no taller either.
No, but you learned under those coaches. Then you did it yourself for. How many years were you the coach? I mean, quite a few.
14, I think.
Yeah,
14.
I mean, man, oh man. And I was there for all of them.
Yes.
But your basketball philosophy, then you stepped away for 9 years. Has your basketball philosophy changed at all? Because I know, and we talked about this, you studied the game. You'd watch these games just to talk about it on a Wednesday night, take the notes. Has your basketball philosophy changed at all from when you were the head coach at Newman the first time around to what you're trying to implement right now?
Well, one of the things I went back through, and it's funny what you save Like I've got bins down. When I cleaned my coach's desk out the first time, those bins were still full. And not as much dust on it as I thought, so I opened them up more than I thought just to reminisce or look through things. And what I was, and then in typing up the paperwork for this season for our parent meeting for our players, they're all getting packets. We put stuff out on Google Docs that people can allude to for whatever, whether it's our rules or philosophies. And I think for, if things are successful, and it really gets down to just some similar key elements, no matter whether it's across the sport, you want some discipline, you want some effort, you want them playing together. I mean, those are really three key things that just continue. And when I write up my philosophy with my players, it's about those things. It's got to be a hard day's work. You got to be giving that blood and sweat to become better, not only at practice, even in the toughest moments. Like this morning, we started out a little rough at practice because, we practiced 3 to 5 on Tuesday. Then a bunch of them went to the girls' game. Then a bunch of them went to Buffalo Wild Wings, which is great. They're all hanging out. But then we turn around, they've had a couple of tough weeks with school ending and also looking forward to Thanksgiving. So they were tired this morning. And then we had to have a moment where we had to get back in after it. So the effort has to be there. The hard work has to be there. It's team above all else. Things don't function if you're not doing this together for the right purposes. And I know kids can get individual accolades, and sometimes, whether it's through families or they'll look at individual stats because they want to take some personal pride with it. And there's no problem with that. But at the end of the day, the thing that matters is what's up on that scoreboard for them. Or even if it was a hard-fought battle and it isn't quite up there on the scoreboard, did you knock yourself out, give it everything you got? Because there's always somebody better and always somebody worse than you at different times in the season. So that teamwork has to be there. And I think you got to stay disciplined. You got to hold true to the things within the game, whether it's on the defensive side or the offensive side that get you there. And what whether it's positioning, whether it's execution, you don't beat people. You're not going to win with surprises. You have to execute that game plan that's led from the coach's perspective, but the players, it's all their glory because they're going out there and they have to perform it. They have to execute it. So I think from the first to the second time around, maybe a little bit more understanding that our times have changed and that, but I think I've held true to my same philosophies of effort, discipline, and teamwork. Those have to be there above all else for you to have a successful program.
I mean, it's fun to see the excitement as you talk about it, though, Jeff.
Yeah, a lot more hand movements as I get riled up.
The excitement as you guys open up on Friday against Merrill. What are you most excited about in that first game? I mean, it's going to be the first time back in the seat and getting your little coaches boxes. I've learned over the first couple of weeks here, you guys get some movement in. What are you most excited about?
Well, I think getting to be part of the atmosphere. I tell the kids, and I mean it genuinely when I say it. Right, most of the stuff that I say, I hope I mean genuinely, because otherwise, why say it? But I enjoy every moment. I'm proud to be called their coach. I tell them I'm proud to be part of every little success. For example, we want to put in a little bit of a flashy warm-up drill. So if you don't practice it, and last night it was a night because we have freshmen through seniors on our roster. And last night you could see guys getting frustrated. It's real simple what you got to do, but when you don't get it, it looks like a mess. And today we're going to run it through. We're going to practice it again, and we do it as this Marquette warm-up drill. And we said we're gonna run it through with one more player that didn't get it and struggled, and he had to finish it out, and they got it all the way through. And from seeing seniors jump up and fire it, guys raising their arms all together, patting the kid on the back that might have struggled with it, that was a moment. And I think I'm most excited for those little moments to see them achieve some stuff that they haven't felt. Whether it's just more on the winning side or more on my personal investment in this team is being acclimated to what we want as a group, those type of things. So I think I'm most excited to just get to take in that atmosphere. I know I always loved coaching in the turkey shoot, getting there. The biggest thing for me, and when you talk about like the Valley and things you don't want to see die off, was just crowd levels. I mean, this is a chance to come watch these kids play and perform in a big field house, 2-night games between 4 varsity teams. And I just, whether it's packed or not, just to get to take the atmosphere and the lights are on, the center, the roar of the crowd when we do something well, the tough stance on defense. So I guess for me, it's all the little moments moments, but I'll enjoy talking to Coach Pieper before the game. Enjoy getting to watch our JVs. I'm gonna, just because I want to be invested in that with that group I've always had. I'm gonna, we have a JV coach, Coach Baker. He's gonna run things, but I'm gonna be on there to give him my opinion, to help with stuff I see, and I'm gonna be his assistant during those games because with our small numbers, I just feel it's a big belief to be around those kids as much as we can, help and gear them to grow up in the sport of basketball, as much as it is watching the varsity guys just to have fun in every little moment, because so much of the stuff that, I'm a new coach. I'm a different system than what Coach Walvogel did. It's just different. And to see them get excited about the things that we're running and the buy-in that we're having, and seeing them just enjoy every little moment, whether it's a tough thing in practice to get that final stop so we can get out of a defensive drill, or whether it's like new offense, everybody's getting it, or when they come up to me and pick up on something, hey, Coach, I really think if we look to move faster through this step, we could get what we want out of it in terms of our look, because one guy's just not understanding the offense fast enough, and he's like pausing to read it, and then he goes, so I'll bark at that kid a little bit more, like, move now, and tell him so that the older guys can see that we're getting through it. So I guess for me, it's just going to be the general atmosphere of what a first tournament should be, as much of an evaluation process of getting to play two solid basketball teams from the Great Northern Conference.
You've mentioned the fact that you've been around a lot of these kids as they've been growing up, but you also have, I think, some of your upperclassmen who have a lot of experience. They've got a lot of minutes at the varsity level against good competition. Could you talk a little bit about the guys on this team? Because you do have, I think, some talented and experienced guys. That has to be exciting to be part of as well.
Well, it is, and again, to give our guys some props, it's starting off in the summer and stuff. It's not easy having a new coach. They look at me right away. I mean, they know I coached, but they weren't around for that. They weren't. I don't even want to calculate the age.
I know.
You guys are like big smiles to calculate the age when I stopped coaching. I remember, because there's a picture that when we have the triplets and the Pent boys, or sorry, I should say quadruplets, but we have three of the boys that are together. And one of the things, they had a picture up on their story that they did on the news. And I'm like, oh, I know those two guys. It was two former assistants. So at some point we had them when they were in second and third grade. So they were real young the last time around, and didn't know much of how any of that worked with me or the teams that I was fortunate enough to coach during that first run. But I've had a great buy-in, because to me, the last time they were, that's our sixth grade teacher, I have eighth grade too, or our eighth grade teacher. So it's been a while. So we had to reconnect under the sports outlook. And they're young men. They're 17, 18-year-old guys looking to make that next step out of high school. They're on their one foot's kind of out the door, so to speak, as fast as graduation pops up. So it was interesting to see how receptive they were, how the buy-in we got right away to start the summer stuff off. And that's what we have on this roster. We have a lot of experience. We have 7 seniors. Unfortunately, Cooper Gould tore his ACL, but I give credit there. It isn't fun sitting at practice when you're injured, and especially when you're holding out hope that you could get in way at the end of the season if we make a little bit of a run, if that thing, and he's ahead of his schedule, which is great, but if that thing heals up properly, and he comes to practice every day, and he sits there for 2 hours, you just got to give those guys all the credit because of how much it means to something, how much it is. And I hope our team, we talk about it often, but I hope our team is always cognizant of what it means to them, and play a little extra harder for Cooper when you're getting beat up or the game's not going the way you want. You dig down and think of that, and I'm going to play hard for my teammate there that can't do this for us. Then obviously you look at the scoring punch. I think we have one of the things we're going to have to continue to improve on is the defensive side, because offensively I was blessed to walk in here with some guys that could put the ball in the basket. They've logged a lot of hours, and Quincy averaged 19, 20 points a game, and Piff ain't much farther behind. Lucas Piffner, another senior for us, averaged about 13, 14 a game, but they have the capabilities to go off on each other. One of the things I really liked about the summer, it's not easy playing off each other when you got two guys that can fill the basket, because sometimes I've also seen teams that they have a hard time doing that, especially one guy picks up when the other goes down, or vice versa. Or are we going to be, just put as many in and wait for the game to develop for us? And those two did a really good job of that over the summer. They're filling it up. Lucas Piffner, due to an injury when he was in middle school, is not able to play football. But if you saw him and the way he hit the weights when he was in the offseason, and everybody's like, he's at the Y all the time. I mean, he was a gym rat in so many different ways and put that time and effort in. So those two guys between Q and Piff are going to be able to fill the basket up a lot. And then our other players are great. We have Griffin Pent is kind of an anomaly because he was out last year, and he plays great on the ball defense and hustle and does all the little things, but he's the one, his court awareness and intelligence, he's asking questions all the time. How do you want me to play off this pick? Before I can even get it out, last night, he's the one contacting me nonstop. Hey, I'm watching this game. I'm seeing this. Who am I going to guard before I can even get the scouting report out? So just his headsiness, I think he's going to be another player that's going to complement our team really well, that I think he's going to slide in there because he didn't play last year. He was out with a shoulder injury and just does so many of the little things. And then you have, we'll go right to his brothers. You have Damian Pent, who are outstanding football player. And he brings that mentality to the court. Like, you're not getting around me. You're not going to drive by. I'm going to stick you defensively. I'm going to go in and hit the layup when I get the pass on the fast break. And I'll spot up and hit the shot when you leave me open. But he's got that feistiness, solid defender, that just this physicality about him where he's not going to make things easy on you for the time he's out on the floor. And his brother's the same way, another strong player for us. Everett will actually go down low and bang around. His height's only about 5'11", 6 foot in that range, but he has this physicality about him where he just that he brought to the football field that he's going to carry over on the basketball court, where he's going to do a bunch of the little things, just get the rebounds, dump it to the guys that can score, but at the same time he'll look for his opportunity when it's available. So a headsy player in that sense. And then we also have Lucas Erdman, who is got this. One of the things I've been trying to work with him on, he's a lefty and he's all hustle, loves to play defense, was one of the conference conference defensive player team last year, and just looks to shut down guys in the inside, but plays bigger than he is. He doesn't have a wheel wide frame, but knows how to position himself, gets his hands on a lot of basketballs, whether he's getting the rebound or gets a tip out. He's smart. The amount, if you can't keep it as a stat, but the amount he taps off to give us second life off a missed shot is a big deal. So he's all over the place, and we're looking for things to him. And here's another moment of being receptive. We talked a lot about you got to be a scoring threat. You have to put the ball up. And as I'm sitting there watching Tom, I'm like, wow, he's taking shots that when I spectated at games last year, he didn't take. He passed up. And so I thought that was a big deal. And then our junior class, so that's our 7 seniors. I don't think I missed anybody. Was that 7? Hopefully, can't miss anybody. And then we have two juniors that are in our lineup also. And Michael Fox is again another player that he was hurt a lot last year with a shoulder. Played half the season, had to go out with a shoulder surgery, and so kind of again another one of these guys kind of untapped under the radar. And he's been doing an outstanding job building confidence in his shot. He's starting to hit it because he has great form and he knows what he wants to do with it. Just have to release that and fire it in. And a lot of athleticism there. He's hesitant too. He knows when he's got to go to the scores as well as much as he's got to knock that shot down and put the ball in the basket where it needs to go. And then we have Carter Cervanka, who is one of our bigger, both sides of the ball linemen, all-conference football player on both sides. And he's, again, a big body. And we need those things in the Merriwood. And he'll go in and battle around and knock guys around and play in the inside and getting much smoother the more we just start working on things like no dribble in the post, go right up with it. He's a big target. And to his credit, and a handful of the other guys, I just mentioned Cooper's injury, but some of those guys are still not all at 100%, right. And they're coming out and battling and or playing through things. And some of them are going to have surgery after basketball because it means a lot. Just got a text today, hey, I'm going to play through it. I got a brace on this, but I'm going to have surgery after basketball. And I'm just so appreciative of that because those little moments, if they're able to do it without us doing any permanent damage to them, is such a big deal in life because you're going to hit the wall. You're going to have to fight through things. So that's our personnel for the older kid with our juniors and seniors rounding out that varsity lineup currently.
We'll get you back late in the season to see how it all worked out, and you can talk about those freshmen and sophomore then.
Yeah, sounds
and
good.
And also, I wanted to ask you about going back to marathon because that's always a rivalry game. Are you looking forward to going back and being on the sideline against Coach Jacobson and the Marathon Red Raiders?
Well, the big thing about that game is usually you don't see us in shirt and ties much, 'cause that's not but we like to sometimes outdress them, so we'll just show up and they'll look at us funny. I'm like, I'm outdressing you guys, but looking forward to it big time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
And welcome back. It is hour number 2 of the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. And, of course, you can also catch the show live on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, go to our 98.9 WXCO channel, and be able to watch the show there as well. And you can watch it later or at your convenience. I am Chad Holmes. Co-host, starting his first night as official co-host, is BJ Brandt. And now time for our student-athlete guest for this week. And we're very happy to welcome in from DC Everest and the Central Wisconsin Storm, Mara Meverden. Mara, thank you for coming on in, and especially the night before Thanksgiving. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here.
I'm going to start off. We'll start off with the softball question, but not involving softball, because you are a big softball player as well. But let's go back to the state tournament last year in hockey. And you're one of the rare folks that gets a chance to talk about state tournaments both in the winter and in the spring. But let's talk about the winter and being able to get an overtime goal at the state tournament. You were able to score in the extra session in the state semifinal, punch the ticket for your team to the state championship game. Was it your second goal of the season overall?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
So you scored one goal up to that point, and then you get the second goal in the state tournament semifinal. What was the moment like when you realized that you put it to the back of the net and your team was able to get back to the state championship game?
I just couldn't believe it. Like only scoring one goal, like you said, before the preseason, and just to do that for my team and be able to make us go to the state championship felt really good. And I'll carry that moment forever, but it just felt like I felt happy for my team that we get to do it a second year in a row.
Just talk a little bit more about the transition. Like, obviously you go from a junior in a different role to what your role is going to be this year. I mean, you're wearing a letter on your jersey. There's some different responsibilities. Talk about what that means to you and what that looks like.
I think my junior year, I think it was all about just going hard and doing what's best for myself plus the team. But now as a senior captain, I think I have to obviously still play hard and do my role is but I think I have to ask everyone else how they're doing and just stay positive and make the whole team just all happy and just stay focused on the game.
The role that you play on the team, does it help that you perhaps had a different kind of role in the spring in softball? Would it be fair to say that for softball, for DC Everest, that maybe your role is a little bit larger in terms of leadership? Would that be fair to say?
For softball, I had a pretty big role in softball and leadership, but I think, are you talking junior year? Or?
Yeah, just even last year, because because just watching again from the outside a little bit more for softball. Does the role that you played on the softball team last spring, which was after your junior hockey season, did any experiences there help you in terms of being ready to maybe take a little bit more of a broader role as a leader for the hockey season?
Definitely. I feel like I'm a pretty good leader on our softball team, so I thought that helped me a lot this year for hockey. So I think it's just carrying it over from softball now to hockey.
So a lot of you don't know this. Mara's a golfer in the fall, and
a true three-sport athlete.
A true three-sport athlete, and I get to watch her there, and then obviously I get to watch her in the winter and from a much further distance in the spring. Mara, talk about what that's like being a three-sport athlete in high school, and what do you take from golf and hockey and softball to the other sports?
I think being a three-sport athlete is very difficult because you have to manage your schoolwork while keeping your good grades up, and then also being productive for your sport. And I think I had a different role for each sport, and golf is from golf to hockey, it's such a big jump, and because golf is not my main sport, I just do that and love it. But I think it's a very big jump from golf to hockey, and I have to adapt that quickly.
It is a huge jump. I mean, that really is, and the mentality of it. I mean, you don't think aggression on the golf course.
Yeah, it's a very different pace between them.
How
two.
do you try to mentally be prepared, or do you ramp up once you end the golf season, start practice for hockey, get to the first game, which was last night? How do you try to to change that switch mentally? Because again, I think different tools are used in each of these sports, and especially like between fall and winter.
I think I get ready the same. Like I need to like have high energy and like just have fun to like be like locked in on the game. And I think that like helped me out. Like I need to have fun for every sport. So I think that'll help me through. Obviously golf ended and now hockey and then softball. So I think just like having fun with my team is just a big part of it, and like it makes me like stay focused.
Let me jump in and ask, did you say that golf is your number one sport?
No, golf.
Oh,
No.
softball is your number one sport.
Softball's
Well,
number one.
I shouldn't be using terms like that anyways. That's terrible. But how good of a golfer are you? Is it because I'll say this, and BJ being new in the winter, so often we'll have a student athlete who's a 3-sport athlete. And often with the boys, golf is in the spring, and they'll go through a football season and then a hockey or basketball season. It's almost like it's a chance to take a deep breath in a sense, be outside, and have maybe the intensity be a little bit lower. What do you look at golf in terms of your athletic palette? How good of a golfer are you?
So this year was one of my best years, or like, because I joined my sophomore year, and I'd say this year was definitely my best one. I got honorable mention for all conference. So, and that was surprising to me because I don't really practice a lot of golf besides like practice every day. So I think that me getting honorable mention was a surprise, but I think I did pretty good this year. So yeah, I shot my best this year. So
it's fun watching Mara golf because I just come up on a hole and there's Mara. Hey Mara, how are you? And we chat a little bit, and it's fun to watch you compete outside because softball's like obviously your sport. You're going to continue on and play at the collegiate level there, and obviously I've gotten to watch you skate since you were 10 years old and get to watch your career here, and it's been really fun to watch you play golf because I think your personality really comes out in golf because you want to be competitive, but you understand how much fun it can be, and you seem to really enjoy it. And quite honestly, Chad, the girls' golf season, they get the best weather to golf in. I mean, they had absolutely great fall weather to play golf in. But Mara, talk a little bit about like as you transition like through this season, and obviously how nice it is to have your decision for next year in the books already, and what you're going to do, and share with people what you are going to do next year.
So next year I'm going to go to UW Parkside to continue my softball career, and it feels very good to already have that figured out because like all the pressure's off of me to like obviously I still have to do good, but like I'm not like showing out for like other coaches, but it's just like a relief of like there's a bunch of like weight off my shoulders that I'm just excited for next chapter.
Let me ask you something about softball. You had a great pitcher in Addison Cluck.
Yeah.
How often did you step into the box against her in practice? Did you get a lot of reps against somebody like Addison Cluck? And does having somebody like that on your team help you and your teammates become better softball players?
We didn't face her very much because,
I don't know some of the intricacies there.
Yeah, we did it a couple times, but it definitely helps. Like you're stepping into the box and you got to know like what pitch you're gonna get or like what pitch you're looking for, because like obviously at the state tournament they're all great pitchers,
Right.
and you just gotta go up there and like know your pitch you're looking for and take that one and drive it.
What position do you play in softball?
I play third base.
What do you consider the best thing that you do on the diamond? What is you in terms of offense, defense? What is your calling card that got Parkside interested?
I would say probably my offense. I had a pretty high batting average last season and the year before, but I'd say I also do pretty good at defense because, well, for Everest we don't, because our Addie's so good, we didn't get,
Right.
we didn't get so much defense, but like when we did, I think I did pretty good, and yeah, I think for our summer league, I play for Fire Pro, I think I did pretty good. Actually for Fire Pro I play first base, so I think just seeing me around the field also helped me with committing to Parkside, and she liked that I could play anywhere. I also catch sometimes.
Versatility.
Yeah.
Do you plan it like this was always fun. Like the recruiting process is stressful, I think, for student athletes, and I don't think people understand there's a lot of stress. While it's fun to be wanted and it's fun to go to these showcases and showcase your talent, there's a lot of stress with it. Does your Parkside coach have any thoughts of coming to watch you compete in different environments? Because whether obviously they're not going to come watch you play golf, but do they plan on coming to watch you play hockey, or maybe when you're down when we play at U School and some of that stuff to come watch you compete there?
I don't know. They got a pretty busy. Well, fall just ended, so that now they're all like hardcore training, but they're pretty far away. So we might see them when we're down by Milwaukee. So I'll have to obviously text her and say hey, my games are here. So I don't know, because they train a lot. So I don't know if they have any free time, but I'll definitely be texting her and seeing if she wants to come and watch. And yeah.
Again, we're talking to Mara Meverden from the Central Wisconsin Storm and DC Everest Softball and DC Everest Golf, as I've learned here this evening, here on the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. We'll get back to talking a bit about the upcoming winter and spring seasons, but you talked about not having a lot of time for some of the coaches and the like at Parkside. Often with the multi-sport athletes, time management is such a big factor. What do you like to do when you have a little bit of time to kind of get away from it, when you're not playing either varsity athletics, or as you said, you got your travel teams and the like? What do you like to do to get away from it?
I love hanging out with my friends, just doing some random activities, like going to an escape room and just being with them, even though those people are also on my sports teams. So I just like to hang out with them outside of the sport and just not worrying about oh, we have to go practice this, but just hanging out with them, seeing what they're like, and getting to know them even more.
Real fast, you talk about your friends and being from your teams. Do you have a different group of friends, say from your different sports, that you hang out with, or do they tend to be the same kind of group?
I'd say I have a different group of friends, because Storm is obviously a co-op, so I talk to everyone. And for Everest softball, it's only Everest, so I definitely have a different group of friends for each sport. And I don't know, it's kind of nice, but also not nice at the same time, because you can if you're you want to just hang out with someone else, you can go to that, but then it's also nice because or it's not nice because then you won't see everyone every single day. Right. And it's kind of sad.
So Chad, Mara's sister Kelsey plays college softball as well. Have you had a chance to go watch Kelsey this fall, and what was that like, being able to watch your sister play?
Yeah, I watched her a couple times. She actually played UW-Madison, and they did pretty well. And it's very nice to see her because obviously she's at college and she's away. So it was nice to catch up with her after the games too, and just seeing her play softball and doing what she loves is very cool.
Let's talk about academics, because you're going to college. Do you have any line of study that you're thinking about focusing on, or are you going in open to start off college?
I'm pretty sure I want to go into elementary education, because I love working with little kids and just helping them out.
Very good. Do you have a favorite teacher at DC Everest?
The high school, or
yeah, just right. Well, you can make it. You can answer it any way you want. It could be a historic favorite teacher or somebody that you're dealing with at the high school level.
Definitely, I love my math teacher, Mrs. Geyer. She helped me out through everything. I was going through a little hard time a week before, and she was there for me. So, and she's also helping me keep my grades up. And she's a very good teacher, very good at explaining things, and it helps the student athletes, because those kids have a hard time staying focused, because they're oh, I want to go play some sports. But having a teacher that's fun and knows her stuff very well, it helps a lot.
Talk a little bit about your parents a little bit. They've obviously been a big part of your athletic career from youth on up, and obviously are probably really excited about the step you're going to take here and have a great Storm season, and obviously have a great spring season, but the excitement of them probably to watch you play college athletics. Talk a little bit about that process.
They've been a big part of everything, so I think they are very excited of what me and my sister are doing, playing softball. But it's very sad to see them sad because we're leaving. So, like, they, like, help me with, like, school, sports. My dad is a big, like, softball guy. He, like, was my coach from, like, T-ball to high school. So he, like, helped me with everything for softball. And my mom is just, like, the biggest supporter, and she's, like, always there for me. So is my dad. But, yeah, it's kind of, they're going to be very sad next year when both the kids are gone.
What about yourself? I mean, it's really something when you think about it. We're coming up to the holidays, and then it'll be 2026, and you're getting ready for your final months before graduation. What are your hopes, both in terms of the hockey season and the softball season? There's a lot to to reach after going to state both last winter and last spring. But what are you looking for here? And it doesn't have to be specifically wins and losses, but as you take your final laps around hockey and softball at the high school level, is there anything that you're going to try to really put your arms around in the final months?
Obviously, go to state both times, but I think just to, like, grow as a team and get better, I think that's, like, the main thing, because, like, both hockey and softball, it's a brand new team. A whole bunch of seniors left. Like, for softball, there was 2 players that weren't seniors, so we're starting fresh for them. And I think just growing and knowing each other better and just having, like, so many memories coming along with these sports. I think that's what I'm looking forward to most.
Well, I know I'm excited to watch this winter. We'll get to, and I'll have the opportunity to watch you guys a little bit more. Talk a little bit about what that team means to you a little bit in terms of the Storm group, and obviously, last night was a learning experience for this group. Talk a little bit about the team from your lens.
Like, juniors and, like, seniors, I know them from, like, 10U. We played together on Storm, and just growing up with them is, like, very fun because you get to know them, like, as they grow up. And I just don't want the season to end because, like, they're, like, some of my best friends, and I just don't want to, because, like, we used to go from hanging out, like, every single day, and now we won't ever, like, see each other again. So I just don't want the season to end. And then, yeah, we make so many good memories, like, on the bus rides, at, like, overnights, and, yeah.
One of the interesting aspects about the Storm is the fact that the bus rides are a lot longer.
Yeah.
You don't have games at, say, DC Everest at Wausau East or Wausau West. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, well, you're all joined together, so you have to go a long way, and you say overnights. How is that different? I mean, does it really make you closer to the people that you hang around with? Because, frankly, when you think about the number of hours you're on a bus during the course of the winter sports season, that's got to be quite a bit, and then at hotels and everything else. How does that make the season different than maybe the other sports that you're involved in?
I think it's, like, the other sports I'm involved in, it's, like, a 15-minute, like, drive to get to know other people. But for Storm, it's, like, 2 hours. And, like, you just, like, play games on your phone with each other, and, like, you just talk, and it's, like, such a good time on the bus rides, and, like, it's so loud but so fun. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at your schedule, Mario, you guys have a couple of overnights here. You get the opportunity to go play Western Wisconsin in the middle of January, and then go play Gentry Academy. It's really fun to watch you guys bond throughout the year. I mean, you watch the group get tighter and tighter and tighter, and they just it's been really fun to watch this group because I've been able to see them since they were 9 years old for starting Storm hockey all the way to this point, and I know it's gonna be fun to watch you guys.
And I guess one final question I have before we ask our final question is that it's been a long time since I've been to the state softball tournament. I was there a few times broadcasting. I always found it to be a really wonderful venue and experience. Could you maybe talk a little bit about the comparisons? Because it's now, the hockey state tournament is in a more intimate venue. It's always been, I think, at a little bit more of an intimate venue down at Goodman in Madison. What are the differences between the state experiences for you? And maybe a little advice if someone from the WIAA is listening about what works for the student athlete. Is there anything that you would like to see as part of the whole experience of state in your sports?
I love when student sections are there, just cheering on and, like, having fun, and, like, whenever someone does something good and just hearing them cheer, like, gets the whole team hype, and, like, they want to do good. So then, and, like, whenever we score a goal at the state for hockey, you just go over to the student section and celebrate with them. So I love seeing people from other schools participate in other sporting events and just like having a good time there. So I guess the difference is for softball, not many people show up, like students from like our grade don't really show up there and like there's not much like cheering, like a student section cheer. But hockey is just, since you're like inside, it feels so much louder, and like just having like the glass is, and the students are so close to the glass, it just is so great just seeing them just cheer for us and having a good time.
BJ, any final?
Yeah, I mean, so just something that's new this year for the Storm is they're in a conference.
Yeah.
So have you guys talked a little bit about what, you get to play for a little championship within the season a little bit. Have you talked to, and what do you guys think about being in a conference this year?
We haven't really talked about it much, but I think it's going to be a change because now we're going to have to play the team twice. And I think it'll also be good for us to like compete for something inside of going to state. So I think just knowing that we're in a conference and we are able to win conference champs, I think that will make us work even harder and hopefully get farther on in the season.
And finally, we always ask our student athlete, especially somebody that is a multi-sport athlete, because you've had a lot more experience, I think, than most. Based on your experience as you get to the final months of your high school athletic career, for a freshman, and you've obviously got more than a few freshmen that you're working with right now with the Storm, and I'm sure with DC Everest softball as well. What piece of advice would you give a freshman based on what you've learned that they should be thinking about as they start their journey through the high school athletic ranks for their teams and schools?
I think they should like take in every moment. I know everyone says that, but I think it's like very true. The years do go by very fast, and I think they should work hard and like try and go far, but I think they should also make like a best friend during their sport and just have a bond with someone and just keep that, and I think it'll help them have like the best time ever for high school sports.
Fantastic. Mara Meverden, DC Everest, Central Wisconsin Storm, congrats on all the success. Congrats on being able to continue your athletic endeavors at
Thank
Parkside. And look forward to seeing you on the ice during the course of the winter. And I'll see you a couple of times in the spring, too, but don't root for you quite as hard then. But the secret I always tell, and you know this as well, is that while I've been doing West games for all these years, I actually went to Everest. So I like you Everest folks.
That's cool.
I will not say that out loud here with this game. But Mara, thank you for coming, and again, have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.
We're going to take a timeout, come back, talk some more hockey with BJ Brandt coming up here on 98.9 WXCO.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the WIAA, are the 178,000 high school sports students in Wisconsin. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, Civic Media app, and on YouTube as well. With BJ Brandt, I am Chad Holmes, and you were just saying that I think for both our guests, we got some good high bars to clear because of really good stuff, I think, from both Coach Jeff Gress and for Mara Meverden. And really, really interesting to be able to sit down for long form. I'm just so happy to be able to provide a chance to really kind of learn a little bit behind everything that we see, whether it's on the ice or the court or the field or whatever it may be.
Well, I think what, people that are listening, I think they get a little window into what goes into coaching, above and beyond just what they get to see on a for basketball Tuesday, Friday, Saturday night, or and kind of behind hockey. It's a little bit different because you don't have as much intimacy as a fan watching because there's the glass and you're behind. You don't get. It's not like basketball. You're in a basketball gym on a Tuesday and a Friday night. You're close. You get to see everything, get to hear everything, and it's just a little bit different. So it's great to get a little window into tomorrow's experience and all of the things that go into being a high school athlete. Because as you're an adult and you think about what your high school experience was about, it's totally there's a lot the same, but there's a lot different for these kids right now.
Let's talk about the Storm, because we both had a chance to see them last night. We had the game right here on 98.9 WXCO. It was the season opener, Lakeshore Lightning and the Storm. Lakeshore 2, Storm 1. Number one, this Lakeshore program is a good program. They won 17 games a year ago. They won their first game 4-0. They had already played. And early in the season, let me ask you, first of all, like that, the team that does have a game before the other team, how is that a significant edge, that's having that first game under their belt? Well, it was game number one for the Storm?
Yeah, I think so. I think you get the nerves out. I think you saw some of that with the Storm in the first period, yesterday, just some of the pregame jitters and first game jitters that exist. I mean, significant advantage. I don't know that is there.
A temporary advantage.
Yeah, I think. Well, and where it can be an advantage is early on in a game.
Yep.
You know what that first shift's going to be like.
The speed of the game in a regular game. You can have a scrimmage, and I've noticed that a couple of times. I went to a basketball scrimmage, and then boy, the speed of the game is it's no comparison when you actually play a game.
Correct.
Doesn't matter if you're playing somebody else. It's completely different.
Yeah, and I think you saw a little bit of that early on in the game, and then you saw the Storm come out and have a really good second period. They just weren't able to score, get to some secondary chances, and I think that's some of the inexperience that they have when you look at what graduated over the last 2 years for the Storm. Some of the kids that didn't need to have a significant role or had a really good support role, they're going to have to play different roles now this year as juniors and seniors and even some of the sophomores. So those things take time, and I think that's the one thing when you play 24 games for the regular season, and there are times as a coach you value the game because you need to win, but as I coached, get to year 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 as a head coach, you start to realize that it's learning, and you have to go through these things. The Storm probably didn't want to go through all the 5-on-3 they had to go last night on the defensive side of the puck, but they had to go through it, and you have to learn how to play the game, and you got to learn how to compete, and I think you'll see a lot of improvement as we go through on the season with them.
And one of the things that kind of jumps out about this Storm team last season, I mean, they had so much experience on the blue line. And I was talking to Coach Wimmer before the game, and I said, all right, and it turned out to be kind of true, is if this game, I said to her, if you give up 30 or 35 shots, people are going to be saying, oh man, the Storm gave up 30, 35 shots. That never happens. Well, when you have a lot of changeover defensively, that's the kind of thing that does happen. But boy, I thought Cammie Floor did an incredible job keeping her team in the game, especially in that first period where she was peppered with 20 shots. So again, last season, they had a couple of young goaltenders who I thought could lean on their defenders. Maybe got some younger defenders that can kind of lean on some experienced goaltending this time around.
I think they're going to have to. They're going to have some growing pains on the back end when you have there's just not a ton of returning experience there, and I think they're gonna grow through that. And when you go from 14U youth hockey to a varsity game last night, that's a big pace of change. That's a big jump for a new hockey player at the high school level to make. And I think you saw them get better as the game went on. I mean, they gave out 20 shots the first period, and I think, what was it, 18 maybe the rest of the way? I mean, 13, yeah. So you could tell they got better. What hurt them a little bit is some of the mistakes were magnified, and they obviously, a 5-on-3, 5-on-3 first goal, a double tip goes in, and then you make a mistake, and a player makes a really good individual play.
It was the wrong player to end end up. I said it on the air. I mean, sometimes you get away with it because when you make that kind of error, it ends up on the stick of somebody who can't take advantage of it. You know that so well in hockey.
Yep. And last night she took an advantage of that scoring opportunity, and it was kind of watching the Storm go through being behind that 1-0 and to get that early third period goal, to get it to 1-1, get a really nice scoring chance after that goal to create some momentum. There were some kind of like Coach Gress was saying. I'm sure coaching staff, as you're living into the game, that was, we didn't do this, but then you go back and watch the film, you're like, we were okay. We just got a little unlucky, or we didn't, grip the stick right at the right moment to make the right play. I think about, 2 or 3 3-on-1s and 2-on-1s that they had that they didn't execute. And those, as they play together, they're going to start to execute those.
And generally, and I mean, the game as well as anybody, I think the forwards, they do have some really good scores. I think they got 1 goal and 28 shots last night between Whitmore and Yurkovsky and Kelter and DePoit and the others. I mean, they got some girls. They're going to be a handful, I think, for a lot of defenses, aren't they?
Yeah, but when you talk about the roles, when we were talking with Mara and just some people that have been really good support players. You look at Jaden Yurkovsky, she's been a great support player, and she's finished plays and she's been able to get pucks, and I think this year's going to be a little bit different. She's got to lead the way a little bit. Ava's got to lead the way. Madeline's got to lead the way to drive this scoring bus a little bit, and things have to go through them where maybe it didn't have to go through them in years past. Yeah. It ended up on their stick in the right moments because they're smart players, and now they've got to drive it a little bit. And I think that's just part of being an athlete as you go through different teams and different structures, and it'll be fun to watch them do that and then see who the support players are that will benefit from that work, because they've got a good leadership group, and it'll be good to watch them this weekend as they play U School, who's got a game under their belt, and whether they play, I think it's ECA.
Hayward or ECA.
Hayward or ECA. I mean, Hayward beats Superior 1-0. ECA Stars have got a ton of skill in their program, so it's going to be a great tournament on
those two teams. They played some games not too long ago, huh?
Correct.
And the thing about it, I said this to Coach Wimmer last night, is, I mean, even without those in the craw, those two schools, those two teams, no matter what, everybody wants to beat the Storm. They always will get their best. I mean, you have 24 games. Nobody's going to ever come out against Central Wisconsin. I think there's only a few of those teams. I think probably Bay Area, the Storm, maybe now Hayward getting into that conversation, but I don't even think at that level. I think basically Bay Area and the Storm, because they've dominated state championships so recently, those teams will always get the best of their opponents. There's never a night off.
No, and that's a testament to the program itself. And I think sometimes as a player coming into a program and you slip on the Central Wisconsin Storm jersey, and maybe those are things you don't understand. You don't understand it until you go through it to realize how cool it is to be a part of that program, and a little bit of the responsibility of what it means to be in that program.
So they have a busy, as you said, they got the Gobbler Cup Friday against USM, and then either Hayward or ECA on Saturday, and then they open up that conference campaign next Tuesday when they host Wisconsin Valley Union. Real quickly, what's your take on being the Storm in a conference? Is it a positive? Is it because I've heard it both ways. I mean,
I think I'll put the AD head on. Travel wise, it's way better. I mean, they're not going 2.5 hours on a Tuesday night to come back at midnight and try to get up and go to school the next day. They're going to go to Black River Falls, one time. They're going to go up to Pines and Medford and Valley Union, and those are just much shorter trips for them, which I think frees up a little bit of what their weekend schedule can look like. I mean, during the week you're going to be in town, what that looks like, and from the competition side, I think that's yet to be seen. I mean, I think everybody's worried about the competition within a conference, but I think you have to go through that and what happens beyond that. I think girls hockey has a lot more things to worry about in general above and beyond the conferences. I think there's some bigger picture things they got to worry about.
And final note on that is I would hope that maybe some of these teams in this conference, they will lift their programs because they have to against teams like Central Wisconsin. I think Black River Falls is expected to be pretty good as well. Yep. But, I mean, we saw Wisconsin Valley Union from time to time be able to step up. But Northern Pines in the past has obviously been there, but they've had some struggles. But the hope is that maybe get those teams into a conference and you lift everybody up, because that's one thing I think the girls hockey does need a little bit. They need that floor to be lifted just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, girls hockey is so much, just like boys, like the youth programs and what you're doing at the youth, and all of those teams in the conference have their own youth program, and they're starting to develop depth and have multiple teams at certain age levels. And I think you're going to see that rise just over the next 3 to 5 years within girls hockey, as long as they all choose to play high school. And right. I think, having I think you're right. I mean, it creates a little bit of a rivalry. You're going to play Valley Union twice. You're not going to play them twice just because you scheduled them. You're going to play them twice to be in a conference, and maybe that second time you play them or second time you play somebody, it's for the conference championship. Right. So it adds a little bit of emotion and structure to your season.
The whole season was always leading to the playoffs.
Correct.
I mean, that's a long road where you're not really playing. I don't the term saying you're not playing for anything. Of course, you're playing for something. You're playing for seeding and everything else, but you're not playing for a conference, and that's not easy. To have that, I mean, for a coaching staff to keep that focus sometimes, because there's always ebbs and flows during a winter sports season. That's the way it is. But having that, maybe that carrot, having that opportunity to win a conference championship, to be an all-conference performer. Yeah, they had the all-independent, but that's a little different.
Yep.
But I mean, maybe that is, again, there's positives and negatives, I guess.
Well, I think when you look at the season structure, so they've got the Gobbler Cup right away, which is a tournament. You're trying to win the tournament, much like the boys are trying to win the Eau Claire tournament. Right. And then you have your conference schedule, and then you go to your holiday season one. So there's it's not much of a tournament anymore, but you're playing 3 games in a really good environment. The girls go down to Madison, and then from then on, it's about conference and prepping for playoffs. And if you didn't have that conference, and it'll be interesting to get Coach Wimmers and the coaching staff perspective on this, because now you have something to play for between that end of December, early February, the whole month of January. You got something to play for. It'll be totally different perspective from from their view, because before it was just, all right, I got 5 weeks to get ready for the playoffs. Well, now there's going to be something to play for in there.
Exactly right. Let's talk about the boys, and let's talk about what we've seen so far, because they started to play some games, and teams in the Wisconsin Valley Conference. Stevens Point, what 14 did they get?
The 14-0 over Middleton.
In Middleton. Doggone, Wausau West won their only state championship against Middleton. That's a program that's got. I mean, I got a little nervous there just when they told me that score. I mean, Stevens Point won. East Merrill had a 4-2 lead against Anago last night at Smith Center in Merrill, but then Anago rallied to win 6-4. Jackson Pierce had a couple of power play goals for the Blue Jacks. Alex Brittenham had 2 goals for Anago. DC Everest went up to Eagle River, and Northern Pines started the year off with a 4-0 win over DCE. Marshfield lost in overtime 4-3 against Baldwin Woodville last night. Wisconsin Rapids, first time in a long time that Pat McDonald's not behind the bench. I went to the Wisconsin Prep Hockey site to see whether or not the tradition continued, to see whether or not they had the attendance of like 58,000, but there was no report on the game. But Rapids did defeat West Salem by a score of 7-0. But so a number of the Valley teams got underway. Let's start with Stevens Point, because that was you look back the last year. I mean, it was an incredible run. They were just perfect. And then in their first playoff game, they were shocked. I mean, literally. I mean, you talk about shockers. That was a shock. They lost to Chippewa Falls, and now they come back. And I can only imagine that those kids that were involved last season, there's got to be a little chip on that shoulder to start all over again and to come out there and just roll up a couple of touchdowns last night.
Yeah, I mean, I think, thinking now I can think outside the box a little bit here in my commentary.
Yeah.
Watching Spash go through what they went through last year and being perfect until they weren't. I can imagine what that offseason was like for Coach Polkamp and his staff, and the message he was given to his players, and how to prepare for the regular season, but then ultimately try to prepare for the postseason. And obviously, I got to watch them scrimmage a few teams over the last week, Friday they were over in Neenah scrimmaging, the new Bay Area co-op, Neenah and Wausau West, so I get to watch them, and they certainly haven't lost a step. They're reloading from what they had a year ago, and you'd probably argue they don't have as much depth, but they got a lot of depth back there, and from their goaltending out to their defensemen to their forwards, I think you're going to see a team that's pretty high powered offensively. It'll be fun to watch their season as they progress, because you're right. They're coming into the season with a chip on their shoulder, because they were clearly the best team in the state last year in the regular season, and just had a bad time to have a bad game. And credit to Chippewa Falls for having a good game when they needed to have one.
East Merrill United, new head coach Brian Bednarczyk, sort of I would say an unknown quality. He's first-time head coach at this level. It's been, I'm going to say, again, I don't know everything going on, but there's been rumbles about, the whole co-op and how strong it's been. It's been thought maybe it'd be changed up in some way, but it's still going on. What do you know about EMU? Do you have a sense on where they stand right now as a program, what to expect this year?
Well, first-year head coach, Brian Bednarczyk, he's a guy that's played the game at a high level. He played for Team Wisconsin as a kid and went the junior route and has obviously been a big fixture in the adult hockey world and had success there. For him to jump in, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of learning for him and probably a lot of excitement for the kids. There's a new coach. Anytime there's a change, there's a lot of excitement within the program. And I think, he certainly will have his challenges to go on throughout the season, but, he's got some good goal scoring coming back in Jackson Pierce. He's somebody that was able to put up goals last year. He's probably got to carry the mail a little bit more this year than he did last year, but certainly in the first game, he was able to be a part of a lot of scoring there for them. And, I think it'll be interesting to watch them as they go, because they've obviously got to go through the Valley schedule and some of the non-conference stuff. But Brian's going to do a really good job. He's a good hockey mind. He understands the game, and he'll probably have a lot of fun doing it.
And Wausau East plays in a tournament this weekend in Tomah. They take on Tomah Sparta on Friday, and then they will take on Black River Falls on Saturday. Real quickly, for them, that's got to be a good bonding experience early. You know this as you go to Eau Claire every year, but for EMU, and then of course, I think that nightmare trip that I guess they're probably happy to get it out of the way next Tuesday, the conference opener at Stevens Point. But I'm talking about this weekend for them to build this program with a new coach and some new players. It's probably a good way to go to have this little road trip this weekend.
Yeah, when you get together and there's probably some things Coach Bednarczyk and his staff will learn as you're overnight with a bunch of high school boys, but they'll have a great time. The hockey is obviously important, but the team time together, the hotel chats, the bus rides, all those things are the things that the kids really remember, and I'm sure that it's a big part of what they'll do over the Friday, Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Let's talk about Wausau West. You said it. You saw them. They were over there in Neenah for the scrimmage against some pretty good programs last weekend. They start off this weekend at the Eau Claire Memorial Tournament. They take on Notre Dame Academy on Friday, then either Superior or ECM on Saturday. Coming off a state trip, got an exceptional goaltender who really stepped up when you needed him in some big games late. You got some experience back. I'm still saying you. But it is still you. You're still part of the program as the AD now. But what did you see Friday? What do you expect from the Warriors? And again, it is an adjustment to have a new head coach, because for Coach Travis Brown, it is a different role. He's been your right-hand man, an outstanding coach for so many years. But there's two sides to the coin. It's wonderful to have great expectations, really good talent, but boy, there's also the other side of the coin where there's not a lot of time to kind of settle into the new position. They're expected to do very well.
Yeah, when you look at the personnel hockey-wise, they're a really good group. There's a lot returning. You've got the defensive side of the puck. You've got some depth there. Between Jones, Rasmus, and Gravine. Those guys have a ton of minutes logged at the varsity level. offensively.
Probably as big a group of defenders as you'll see.
Yeah, I mean
that,
honestly, big physical
yeah.
group, and I think the challenge for that group will be finding that line of physicality
Right.
to stay out of the box a little bit. And then you look on the offensive side of it, you got their entire top line from a year ago back, and Pergolski, Krass, and DePoit, and Hendricks, Damroskin, and Tyler Wendell is going to lead, and Xander DeBile. Those guys, you get a whole senior line as your second line, and that's important. I mean, those guys have a ton of experience in big games and big moments, and especially early on, I think Coach Brown will lean on that because they've been through a lot. They've been through a lot at the varsity level. They've been through tough games, through tough moments, and I think they all understand what they need to do. I think as they've grown up, they're continuing to mature and bond together with the new guys they're wearing the jerseys next to them and being good leaders. I think, Trav and I have had a lot of conversations, and he's got a really good coaching staff. He was able to add in a couple Warrior alum, Jake Bailey and Jacob Zabula, as guys coming back to help the program. So, from my perspective, I think it's awesome that when you can bring some alumni back,
Right.
and you've got Jed Wykes and Dane Hagedorn and Sam Wiegert as guys that'll certainly help Coach Brown, because it is a different role. It's a different lens for him to look through. It's a different set of responsibilities. One of the things that the reason as a coach that I was able to be successful is because of the coaching staff.
Sure.
Everybody had a role. Everybody knew what we were doing. And by the time you get to year 5, year 6 with those guys, it flows really well. And, it's going to be really fun to watch this group from afar.
Let me ask you, because I get goosebumps thinking about it, but it's not very long. It's less than 2 weeks. Weston Bash at KB Willett. I mean, it's so early. But it's such a massive game every single year when you go to KB Willett take on Stevens Point. As you look here at the start of the year, how do you see these two teams comparing? Because they're both, I think, pretty loaded.
Both these teams are completely loaded. I think, that game, they scrimmaged each other on Friday.
Yeah.
And it was fun to watch the kids compete against each other. And as a coach, you're playing your cards right. You're not showing what you want. It's planned scrimmage mentality.
December to the 9th is coming quick.
and it'll that's going to be a massive game. I really think it's going to be a really important high school hockey game in our state. I think when you look at the top teams in the state, and we've gone to a ranking of 6 for some reason, but I think those guys are certainly going to be in the top 6 here early on, and it's going to be a massive game. There's a lot of implications in it, but the reality is it's a game of December 9th, and when you want to play your best hockey in February, you can't put a ton of weight on it, but these guys know. They know what this game means from the conference.
One of the goals is to win a conference.
I think Spash has won 5 in a row.
Yeah.
And I think
I know how important for these kids, because we talked during the fall when they beat Stevens Point on the football field. It hasn't happened. I remember last year when the boys basketball team won at Stevens Point.
Yep.
It was huge because it doesn't happen that much, because Stevens Point, for whatever reason, obviously it's a big school with a lot of athletic talent, but boy, I know that for those guys, especially the football guys who are now playing hockey, they want to do it again.
It means a lot to them. I think it means a lot to the coaches too, and it'll be certainly a highly watched game in early December here, and that for West that vaults them into the one of the check boxes in the season, because then on Thursday they've got they start the Marathon Cup.
Yeah,
so you think from Tuesday to Tuesday you've got 4 games, Spash plus Marathon Cup. There's a lot of emotion in that week, and that'll be interesting to watch those guys go through it.
It's really real quickly. It's really interesting how it just goes from 0 to 100 for hockey, because then you talk about later in the month you have there's always I don't have it in front of me right now. I should get it in front of me, but there's always some interesting games before Christmas, and then of course between Christmas and New Year's you head over to Green Bay for those 3 massive games against always fantastic programs with the showdown in Titletown. So it is just amazing how quickly. Edgewood. Go on the road to Edgewood on December 20th and then go to Green Bay. The first month of the season is a season in itself, isn't it?
It is. I think Madison Edgewood will be a preseason number 1 based on what they have coming back, and they're a really good team. So to kind of go into the break, we'll call it a break of a few days before you go over to Green Bay and they, Chippewa Falls, they play over there. So it's a sectional game that's over there, and you get to be together and some of that stuff. So it's going to be fun to watch. I'm really excited for the team. I'm excited for Coach Travis Brown and the staff. Like, it's really been fun for me to kind of sit back and just enjoy watching the kids play. I mean, from these are kids that they're the same age, birth year as one of my daughters, so I was able to watch them from learn to skate all the way to here. So I really look forward to watching them have a great season.
And I am too. The only 2 games we're not doing this year are the first 2. Get them all the way. I can double dip this weekend. Again, I want to try to keep as many people happy as possible.
It's a hard job you have, Chad. Keeping people happy is a challenging goal in life.
But
here.
At the same time, there's going to be so many fantastic games as we get into that season. I'm looking forward to seeing the Warrior hockey team starting next Tuesday when they take on Marshfield in the conference opener, and then of course head down to the Milwaukee area for those games against Waukesha and USM next weekend. So we'll get right into it. I also wanted to we only got a couple minutes left in the program. In the GNC, you got Tomahawk, defending state champs in Division II. They are now moved up to Division I. They are in that bracket of death with Wausau West and Stevens Point and the Eau Claire schools and Hudson and Superior. And we actually talked to Dewey Riley during the football season because he's both a football coach and the hockey, which is amazing in itself. Had a fantastic football season. Now he's going back onto the hockey rink. What do you know about Tomahawk? Because it's a tough spot, isn't it? It's
a tough spot. I mean, I think they're certainly going to be very good. I mean, there's no doubt about it. If
they were in Division II, they'd probably be in the mix, right?
I mean, yeah, I think if they stay at Division II, they're preseason number 1. Looking for another state championship with the way the WIA has changed some of these, competitive balance stuff. You've seen it in hockey. It's just the way it is. When you're successful at Division II for a 3-year period, you're going to get bumped up, and I think it'll be an interesting perspective as you go into seeding meetings, just because that happens so late that there's going to be some common opponents, but not a ton. Right. I think when you look at the Great Northern, I think there's some parity there a little bit at the top. I think Tomahawk clearly is somebody that has earned the opportunity to be the preseason favorite there. But you look at Northland Pines beating a really senior-heavy, loaded DC Everest team 4-0 up at Northland Pines. Mosinese always got a good team. They're going to play well. They're going to play hard.
It always seems like it's Tomahawk and Mosinese.
It is, and I think you'll see Northland Pines. They've got a really good young group right now in there, so they'll probably be in the mix. So I like to go down and check the games out at Mosinee early on. It'll be fun to watch that conference because it's a section. That whole conference is a section right now.
That's the difference between you and I. I try to avoid Mosinee.
Yeah, you don't like the service there. I get it.
It's not the people. It's not the folks that work there. It's just the location and trying to get a signal in order to get me on the air and not cause me to have a stroke.
There's 2 places, folks, that Chad doesn't enjoy broadcasting from. One is Marshfield Ice Arena, and the other one is Mosinee Ice Arena.
And I'm thinking, and I said to somebody, I said, I know Wes is going to play there in the 3rd round of the Marathon Cup. Nothing against Everest, but I just want West to play Mosinee in the Marathon Cup because then it can go to Greenheck on Tuesday instead of going to Mosinee Rec on Tuesday. So, all right. Well, we got one in the book. Thanks to Jeff Gress and also Mara Everton for being our guest. We will be back next week. I promise you next week we'll talk some girls basketball. We need another hour here. It's incredible.
Well, Chad, I've got a lot of information on girls basketball. I've seen a lot of girls basketball games.
Well, we're going to test you on it next week, but we'll have a coach, we'll have a student-athlete guest, and make sure you tune in. We have doubleheader basketball both Friday and Saturday for the Wausau West Turkey Shoot. West Hockey at Marshfield coming up on Tuesday next week as well. But we'll be back next Wednesday here on 98.9 WXCO.